Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year!
So, it's 2024, and this year we're going to be talking about some predictions. This year is all about the numbers. In 2023, 1.6 million international workers and international students were in Canada. And when we talk about numbers, the permanent residence quota number is what makes the biggest difference. 485,000 is the targeted number. What does that mean? Well, first of all, for just the economic stream, 281,000 is the target. And in the economic stream, express entry is only 110,000. 110,000 into 1.6 million? So what do you think about that, Al?
No, I think gone are the days where there was a promise that if you had a study permit and you came to Canada and worked for 1 year, that you get permanent residency. That's how the express entry system was originally designed for those people. But I think those days are over, and it's going to have to change how you get permanent residency.
And I think what we'll see is an increased focus on the non-express entry programs, so things like the provincial nomination programs and lots of new programs that are opening up all the time. There might be new ways for people to become permanent residents.
Yeah, that's really the good news story, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the government is getting creative. You know, there's not just 110,000 express entry, there's 110,000 for provisional ME programs. That means the quotas for provinces are likely to go up. So hopefully, we're going to get bigger and better draws from the provinces. And it's really going to be about thinking outside of the box as well. The government has emphasized occupations-based French skills. I mean, it's not everyone who should learn French, but those people who can and have a capacity for French, that's good news for them. And certain occupations, healthcare, trades, STEM, right? I think those are going to be the lucky folk. It's not that other people don't have a way to do it, but it's going to be creative solutions. Yeah. All right, so another important stats is students. 900,000 students a year is a lot of people in the country. The minister has just in the last few weeks made announcements as to how to limit international students. What do you think about that, Mary?
I think that it's going to be difficult to get a study permit in 2024. IRCC has announced that they're reducing the numbers of study permits that are going to be available. And while that might be seen as a bad thing, one positive thing is that they are leaning towards more objective criteria. So in the past, we had to create applications that would just look convincing to a certain officer who might read it on that day. Now we're getting things like a specific funds requirement that we didn't have in the past, and that makes the criteria more clear for applicants.
So, I mean, they did have this 10,000 minimum, which was, everybody knew that was not enough, right? It's ridiculous. So now it's up, and they measure it to LICO, which is the settlement funds. I think that's going to make it better. Now, maybe a lot of people may not qualify for that, but I think a lot of people, if all they had was 10,000, they were getting rejected anyway. So what do you think, Otto?
I also think there's going to be much more emphasis on the schools to be deciding who's coming and who's not. A lot of this problem is starting from the housing crisis, and that students were coming here and not having houses. So I think schools, there's going to be more pressure on them to ensure that they have housing for the students that are coming in. And I also think they're going to have very different criteria about who they're letting in.
It's not that Canada doesn't want to have international students. International students are the ideal immigrant group for the government. They have said that repeatedly. And international students provide a very important source of funding for universities and colleges in Canada. But I think right now it's about sorting through the universities and colleges. A lot of the private colleges, I think, are going to lose out, which is not necessarily a bad thing because sometimes you have really bad private colleges. Hopefully, they're going to be weeded out, and you're going to have the good schools who are there and the good students who are able to get into the schools. Now, I think it's about making sure, being very careful about your application, but I think for the majority of you guys, you're still going to be able to make it in. All right, so another important number is family sponsorship, in particular, parents and grandparents. What does that look like?
Yes. So families, for parentals and grandparents, I think it is a good news story and a bad news story. As we know, it's a lottery-based system. I think for those, and the last lottery that they did was in 2020 was the last time they opened the pool. I think for those people who are in that pool, it's a good news story. In 2020, there were 200,000 people that put their names in. And every year since, they've just been choosing from that pool. They haven't reopened that pool. They're at about the halfway mark, about 100,000. We're seeing about another 35,000 will come out this year is the prediction. My prediction here is that they're going to run from the 2020 pool again and not reopen it.
Yeah, good news for those who were in the 2020 pool.
Yeah.
For those who weren't in, I think we have the super visa option. And for some people where your parents are still working or they're entrepreneurs, we do work with a lot of people through the Startup Visa program and other entrepreneur programs. If they're still interested in coming to Canada and opening up businesses, that might be something to do.
And I think the family good news story that we have to talk about is speed of applications,
Oh, great.
especially for the in Canada spousal sponsorships. You know, the year before last, we were seeing them take about 1 year. This year that they're using AI technology, and that's gone down significantly. We're seeing them come back in 6 to 8 months, which is a really, really good change. So I think that's a good news story, and I predict that that's going to keep up and maybe even get even faster.
Yeah, and the online system as well. Now everything's online, so you don't have to actually courier the forms and all of those things. The other number that is very important is humanitarian compassionate cases. It's only 13,750.
The government is down by half. This is a number that also includes all of the new humanitarian programs that they've brought in, including the Ukraine program, which is quite significant, the Venezuelan program, the Haitian program, Colombian program,
Yeah.
the Hong Kong. So I think what this is going to mean is that for humanitarian and compassionate cases, that they've got to be done properly. You can't just throw one in and hope for the best. I think you've really got to put your case forward because, as we know, the numbers of those that are going to be accepted are going to be less.
The good news in 2023 was that the government really started issuing a lot of open work permits for people from Iran, Syria, Turkey, and the list goes on. The question now is, if you came on those kind of work permits, how do you get permanent residence? Lots of questions. We're here to help you answer them, but it's definitely not a hopeless case or any sort of despair. It's about planning, guys. So Happy New Year, and hope to see you and help you out this year.
Happy
Take
New
care.
Year!
Bye, guys.